Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Intelligence League Racing. After a night race last time around in Singapore, we're back to daylight. We are back to Europe. It's round 11 of the INL Division 1 Season 2. It is the Hungarian Grand Prix. This circuit has been described as Monaco without the barriers, so qualifying is sure to be a very important session here at Hungary. Last time around at the Singapore Grand Prix, we had a new victor. We had a new winner since the season got rebooted 4 rounds ago. It was Shapalele taking his first victory and podium of the season. Menno de Bever in second place, just as the championship leader, continuing his amazing form with third position. His teammate, Mr. Pop XL, who got his first pole position of the season, managed to get his best result of the year in 4th as well. And what that means for the Drivers' Championship, still very early stages though, still another 9 rounds to go. Got to say, it is looking very good at the moment for Just As. He now has a 42-point lead over Daniel Shapalele, going up into second position, 13 points behind Daniel. Then you've got Menno de Bever in 4th, and despite Asakomi having his first DNF of the season, he is still 5th in the championship on 27 points. And in the Constructors' Championship Racing points, the first team to get into 3 figures, they are on 104 points. Alfa Romeo have 63. Red Bull, thanks to Shapalele's win, move themselves up into 3rd on 46 points. Who will be able to take advantage of all the action around this track then? Quite a few cars heading out early on around the Hungaroring. Expect to see plenty of action in the qualifying session. Plenty of manoeuvres in the race as well. Not the easiest track for overtaking, it must be said. But if you know what you're doing, it is definitely possible. Turn 1, a very good overtaking opportunity, and quite often you see battles that start at turn 1 carry on for the entire of the first sector. So don't be surprised if we have something similar happen here this time around. A very twisty track, 70 laps in a full race, so 35 laps in this race. But first, we have the standard 18-minute qualifying session. Who will be able to get on the front row of the grid and give themselves the best possible opportunity of leading this race? The middle sector and the final sector really make it difficult to overtake here as you get stuck behind the car in front in the dirty air. We'll go on board then with the man currently second in the championship. It is Daniel NL as he heads down the main pit straight then into the braking zone for turn 1. Reprofiled for the 2003 season to a much tighter corner, allowing better opportunity to overtake. DRS over, and once again then as the turn 2 apex falls away from you there. Very easy to run wide. Expect to see a lot of cars battling side by side through 2 and 3 as well. Up the hill where Felipe Massa had his horrific accident in 2009. Into turn 4. Need to be careful on the inside and the outside curb so you don't invalidate. And then throwing the car around turn 5. Coming up through the chicane at 6 and 7. It is possible to overtake here if the car in front makes a mistake through 4 or 5. Then the rest of this middle sector is just for this nice flowing section. 8, 9, and picking up speed again as you come flat out through turn 10. Slight lift through 11 there for Daniel, coming now to the end of the lap, the final few corners into turn 12 again. If you're brave, it is possible to overtake there, but you're probably better off just setting the car up through turn 13, and once again through the final corner. That pit entry can be tricky on the right hand side as you come through turn 14. Daniel heads towards the finish line, first man to set a time in this session, and it is a 1:13.530 for him. He has pole position for now. Bullet Boy quickly going into second, but Bullet Boy, who is in the Haas tonight, is on the medium tyres, so not a bad time on the mediums. We did see that strategy being used a lot earlier on in Singapore. I wonder if any of the drivers will be doing that tonight, or today I should say. Just as it looks as though he's just having a bit of a cruise lap at the moment. We'll see what his teammate's doing. Last week's pole sitter, Mr. Pop XL, not setting a time at the moment. He's invalidated on this lap. Very easy to do through turn 4. I'd expect to see a lot of drivers running wide through that corner. Duell has also invalidated his lap. It looks like he's going to get on for another one. Daniel's time still the fastest then. We've had a few drivers set their first time. Menno de Bever currently in second. VRT Law just looks as though he's another driver choosing to do an extra warm-up lap on these soft tyres. It's actually quite a tough circuit on the tyres. here at Hungary. That middle sector especially, if you've got any tyre wear problems, you are going to be exposed during that middle sector quite severely. So don't be surprised. Do see a few trains in the race, DRS trains especially, always a possibility at multiple circuits. Yakuel now in the Ferrari, one finish so far this season, and it was a fourth in Mexico. He'll be hoping for a good performance for Sole Ferrari here tonight. He moves up into fourth position, 1:14.157. It seems like Bullet Boy has less succession, and CPI Connor has had a big shunt, looks like, into turn 3. We'll see if we can follow it round with Yakuel, but it looks like a very big shunt there for the Williams of CPI Connor, just in front of his teammate, rotation. And yeah, you can see he's actually gone off, by the looks of things, coming out of 2, hit the curb and then into that left-hand side of the wall. So he is out of the session. He will be starting from the back of the grid, but will obviously get the free tyre choice, which could be crucial around here. It remains to be seen. VRT Law, has he got enough in him to get a lap finished? Can he get to the end of the lap, or is he going to dive it into the pits? No, the Haas carrying on in 9th place at the moment. Both racing points, not setting a time on their first run. Not ideal for them. But a very good lap from VRT Law. He moves into 4th position for now. Rotation's just coming to the end of his out lap, but after the first third of qualifying, it is Daniel on provisional pole position, Miro de Wever and Ivan Bakker, the top 3 at the moment. Barakakap looks as though he might be going for a second run after invalidating his first lap, taking it a lot safer at turn 4 than we've seen a lot of other drivers doing. That might be a good tactic, to be honest, in the first part of this qualifying session. You don't exactly want to go all in so early on. Can very easily lead to a mistake and possibly lead to a crash. We've already seen CPI Connor out of this qualifying session, so he will be starting from the back of the grid in what I believe is his first race of the season in the Williams, replacing Josh. So we'll have to see what he can do. Not ideal though for Williams. They are now down to 4th in the Constructors' Championship, and it looks like they'll have at least one car starting from the back of the grid. Barakakap just a bit heavy on the right foot there, coming through the penultimate corner. That will have compromised his lap time. This is only going to be good enough for 8th place for him, just ahead of Killer Brent at the moment. But so far it is Daniel still on top. We've got rotation on his hot lap at the moment. He is invalidated as well. A lot of drivers might have to leave it fairly late as he comes into the pits. Knuckle Beezy then in the Renault. He's picked up a few points so far this season. His best finish last time out in Singapore. A bit of a race of attrition. Knuckle Beezy managed to get to the end and was rewarded with 8 points for 6th place for the Renault team. Puts him currently 13th in the championship, tied on points with Yakuel. But of course Yakuel has had a higher race finish with that 4th in Mexico. So we'll see what Knuckle Beezy can now do as he comes around the final corner on this twisty circuit on the edge of Budapest. What can he do? And it is 8th place at the moment for the Renault driver. Great lap, it has to be said. No, Julian's fastest lap was on his softs. I was going to say that was a pretty good lap by Julian on the medium tyres. He is on those now, and he's already made a mistake through turn 1. So invalidated his lap, deciding best to leave it another day. Mr. Pop XL just starting his hot lap. Pole sitter last time out. We saw him in the first part of the season before D1 and D2 got merged together. Just how much pace this guy has got. Hasn't been able to show it too much. Had a good finish last time. Pole position. Not able to convert it to a podium thanks to some penalties, and very nearly thanks to an incident with his teammate. We've seen racing points come together at Singapore before, famously. Of course, Perez a knock-on in 2018 at the start of the race. A big crash which pretty much ended the team atmosphere there and pretty much ended any chance, I feel, of those 2 remaining teammates for 2019. So we'll see what Mr. Pop can do this time around. Neither him or his teammate yet to set a time in this session. Still 9.5 minutes to go though. Still plenty of time for them to rectify that. Very good middle sector so far from Mr. Pop. Knucklebees is just ahead of him. The Renault will get well out of the way. Doesn't want to get a penalty for holding him up, as dirty air I mentioned earlier has a big factor around this circuit. Ivan Bakker's gone even quicker. 1:13.585 for him. What can Mr. Pop do as he comes towards the line? Fantastic lap time. Puts him on the front row for now. 1:13.404. Last week's pole sitter starting to show the form that we've known for a while. He has got Killer Brent he has invalidated his lap time. VLT Law and Bullet Boy are both on their outlap at the moment. What can the championship leader Just As do? 4 podiums from 4 races. Singapore the first time he hasn't been on the top step, but still managed to get a 3rd place. He's got a 42-point championship lead so far. Can he beat his rival to pole position? Not at the moment. Slots in just behind his teammate. The Williams of rotation in the background, just heading to set another lap time. We've got an Alfa Romeo coming around the final couple of corners. That is Daniel coming into the pits. And McLaren now heading towards the line. Menno de Beva has set a time. His teammate, NLR Mike K, currently at bottom of the time sheets. But on those medium tyres, let's not forget, if you do start outside the top 10, you do start on the... You have a free choice of tyres. If you start inside the top 10, you'll have to start on whatever tyre you set your fastest lap on. At the moment, Bullet Boy on the medium tyres from 9th place could be something to watch. We'll have to wait and see how it goes for him. Julian comes across the line. He's 10th now on the medium tyres, and that was not an improvement for him. Unfortunately, the Ferrari of Yekul on an outlap at the moment. One of the Hassers coming around the final corners. It is Bullet Boy, so he wants to be comfortably in the top 10. Thinks there's too many drivers here who want to start low down on the mediums, and this has been a very good lap from him. Could challenge for top. Indeed it does. 2nd position for him. No one able to beat Daniel at the moment. His teammate is now down to 7th. He goes up into 5th. Very good performance, you've got to say so far, from the Hats team. They're bottom in the championship with only 1 point. Love is their only full-time driver here tonight. Bullet Boy is a reserve, so this could still be a very good performance for the team. Looks like they're on some good points at the moment. Mike K coming around the final corner. Can he find an improvement on those mediums? Indeed he can, but stays just outside of the top 10, just behind Julian at this moment in time. He is in 11th position. Nuffle Bees are getting ready to start his flying lap. Yekul 2 attempts up on his personal best at the moment. Quite a gap between Do Will in 8th place and then Menno de Beva in 7th. It's about the same as the gap really from 1st to 7th. Same size from 7th to 8th, so plenty of time for Yekul to find here to get himself into 8th position. Gets it nice and clean out of the final corner. Running out of ERS slightly might have just cost him. He does move a 10th ahead of the Mercedes. 8th position at the moment for the Ferrari driver. We've got a few drivers coming around on outlaps now. Julian seems to be doing a lot of laps on these medium tyres. Whether he's just getting a bit of practice in on the mediums, I hope he doesn't need them in the race, because I can't imagine he's aiming to set a better time at the moment, as we've got another retirement. That is Nuffle Beezy on the entry to turn 4, I believe. We'll see if we can still... On the exit turn 4, sorry, on the entry to turn 5, on that inside, yeah, it does look like, I imagine he's just hit that curve through turn 4 a bit hard, and it has speared him up towards the wall. So 2 retirements already. This track can definitely bite, and I have seen in other leagues, in qualifying, can be extremely tricky indeed. The track surface does seem to take a while to get rubbered in for whatever reason, so it might be a struggle for some of those guys now starting lower down the grid. Do Will on his outlap at the moment. Daniel's on a flying lap in the Alfa Romeo, and he's currently up on his personal best. Half a tenth of a second. He's got a 1200ths lead at the moment over Bullet Boy, so not looking too bad for Daniel. Pole position in Canada, didn't manage to get a victory. Did get a 2nd place there. Also had a 2nd place in Mexico, but the DNF last time out really costing him when it comes to Just As, but still enough to keep him 2nd in the championship. Needs to start finding some performance though to beat Just As in the next couple of races. Otherwise, if Just As extends that lead even more tonight in Hungary, maybe next time in Japan and America as well, might become very tricky for anyone to topple the Racing Point driver. Looks as though he's not going to be starting from pole at the moment. Can Daniel find enough improvement to get into the 1:12s in the Alfa Romeo, just outside, but a 1:13.044. Cracking lap from the Dutchman with 4.5 minutes to go. He has a 3/10 of a second lead in this session. That is quite a big gap to have. Indeed, De Will looks to be finding a bit more pace at the moment, taking that 8th position off Yekul, probably the best he can hope for on this lap in the Mercedes. Only attended 1 race so far out of the last 4, and that was 3rd in the chaos. That was Silverstone, and a good lap from him moves him into 8th position at this moment in time. Who else have we got out on a lap at the moment? Julian still going around on those mediums, surely he's got to come into the pits now, because His best lap was on the soft tyres anyway, so he might as well just come in. He's not going to find any more time on those mediums, and indeed he does dive into the pits. Barakakap down in 13th at the moment, a man that has shown some decent pace, managed to get 7th last 2 races and the fastest lap in Mexico. He comes into the pits, clearly thinks he's got more time to find at the moment. Ivan Bakker, very late dive into the pit lane as well from him, so not too long to go, 3.5 minutes left. A lot of the drivers getting ready to maybe set their final times. Rotation, only driver who's yet to get a clean lap in at this moment in time, so could really do with this lap being a fast one for him. Needs to move himself up in the qualifying order at the moment. Another driver to get their best finish last time out. His first top 5 of the season. 7th in the championship at this moment in time. Fastest lap as well now. He's on 21 points. Will he be able to add to this tally tonight? He'll be hoping he can work his way up the order. He will be ahead of his teammates. CPI Connor, he's guaranteed to be in 16th. Knucklebeezy 12th at the moment, despite being out of the session. And you can just see how easy it is to invalidate. This is why I think some of these drivers, like we saw Barakakap do on his second run, admittedly, just take it a bit easier through turn 4, because it is a common place for these drivers to make mistakes. And you can see at the moment, looks like rotation. He's going to have one more shot, I imagine, to get a lap in, and then that is going to be it. Menno de Beva, though, he's improved in the first sector on his personal best. Can he keep it tidy through turn 11 at the moment? Yes, he can. He's finding some good time. Quarter of a second up on his personal best. Good improvement in the final sector from him. Could possibly challenge Bullet Boy and get the McLaren onto the front row of the grid. Had his best result last time with a second in Singapore. He's starting to get to battle with the big boys more and more often. A bit wide through the final corner. Don't think it cost him too much. In the end, though, could only improve up to 6th position. That will be it for him. Killer Brent has gone way deep into the chicane there. How have you managed to go off that far? How have you managed to get off? I don't know. All I can think is Killer Brent's invalidated his lap and gone off there on purpose, because I don't know how else you would end up that far in the hedge, as some commentators would say, because he is a long way away from the track there, and it's not normally a place you do see some big accidents. Mike Kay currently in 11th at the moment in the McLaren driver. He is another reserve making his debut tonight, so we'll see what he can do at the moment. 11th place, not too far off Julian. Feel like if he'd gone for his soft tyres though, his best lap, and he's retired from the session, his best lap is on the medium, so he might be someone to watch, as he will get that free choice of tyres. We are getting ready though for the last few drivers to come around in this session though. Just as has invalidated. Has he got enough time to get around? I believe he will have, but he's going to be cutting it pretty fine when we get to the end of the session. Ivan Bakker's just started his flying lap as well. Bullet Boy on an out lap. DeWill on an out lap. Mr. Pop just starting his flying lap as well. But the head of this train is going to be first man across the finish line is Daniel, and he's finding more and more time. 13 thousandths up through the first sector. Can he get into the 1 minute 12s and just assert his dominance in this session? He's took provisional pole position with his very first lap. No one has been able to head him at the moment. He's looking pretty good at the moment. Only Barakakap outside the top 10 could knock Julian out of that top 10 at the moment, because the others have all retired. Rotation and Connor 15th and 16th. He's still finding a smidgen more time is Daniel. So this could be a 1 minute 12 from the Alfa Romeo driver to really lay a marker down in this session. Checkered flag is out. He's currently second in the championship. Will it be another pole position for the Alfa Romeo driver as he heads towards the line? 112.936, fastest of everyone so far in the session. Bullet Boy has gone off on his lap. Ivan Bakker can't improve in the end. He stays 4th. Mr. Pop has invalidated. Law heads across the line. Says he's able to set a time. This might be a bit of a timing glitch on our end. We do know it does happen with F1, so we'll have to wait and see about that. Barakakap, he's coming towards the line. Big improvement from him up into 9th place. Yakuel, he's invalidated. He can't go up anymore, just as he's made a mistake on his lap. Mr. Pop in the 3rd position then at the moment. So pretty good qualifying from the Racing Point drivers, just not at the front as they would have liked to be. Julian Been slowing down there to give himself free choice of tyres. That is a very clever tactic indeed from him. That is pretty much it for this qualifying session then. Just as heading around, he's cruising. He'll be in 5th position, so it's another pole position for Daniel, recovering after his DNF last time out in Singapore. He got very close to collecting his teammate in that race. We saw a few teammates getting close to crashing into each other. Hopefully we don't see that this time. Hopefully we get a fantastic race. It's Daniel leading. Bullet Boy, great job in the Haas to get 2nd place. Mr. Pop continuing his good qualifying form from last time out in 3rd. It never really looked in doubt from lap 1 at who your pole sitter was going to be, and it's the man on screen right now. Daniel on pole position, over 4/10 of a second, absolutely humongous gap. Then Mr. Pop is in 3rd position. Ivan Bakker showing some good form at the moment. He is 4th, just as 5th. Menno de Bever in 6th. VRT Law, very good job from him on his debut in the Haas in 7th. Duril 8th. Barakakap clinching 9th at the end. Yekul is 10th. Julian deciding he wanted fresh tyres. That could be a very clever choice in 11th. Mike K, watch out for him. We haven't seen him so far this season, and we couldn't see what he could do on the softs. He's 12th, and Nuffle Beasy and Brent in the Reynolds rotation, and Connor failing to set a time in the Williams rotation, invalidating 5 laps separately throughout that session. And we of course saw Connor have that spin early on. Who will take the victory then? 35 laps of the Hungarian Grand Prix coming right up. "35 laps of the Hungarian Grand Prix coming up from what can only be described as a very overcast Hungaroring. Could we possibly have a chance of rain in this race? That will be very interesting to watch if we do get any rain at all. If you want some more INL action, of course, there is the Division 2 action. You can watch that now as well. They'll be going through their qualifying session at the Hungarian Grand Prix as well. But let's see how this goes. Let's see who is going to take the victory here. We've got Daniel on pole position, yet to take a win this season. 2 podiums for him and a 4th place when he's finished. Menno de Bever quite high up as well, just behind championship leader, just as Bullet Boy has shown some good pace. He's spun on his last lap and he is in 2nd. Getting underway then under a very miserable looking Hungaroring. There the tyres everyone is on. No one outside the top 10 going for the softs. They've all gone for the mediums apart from Connor. He is on those hards. He is definitely playing the long game here. And I wonder if there is just a possibility of rain in the air around here. I will try and find out from the drivers if we are going to get any rain around here, because it does look, it's very British to put it one way. It looks very dull and dry and overcast. Well, looks like it's not going to be dry much longer. We'll have to wait and see. There's the CEST strategies, medium to hards. Those on the softs, I think, will try and stretch it out to a one-stop. The 2 Renaults colliding together, so they're going to have cold tyres. It hasn't been a glorious season so far for the Renault team, it's safe to say, in this championship. They are 9th in the championship. 20 points, getting 10 of those in the first race. Been a bit slim pickings since then. It's been quite a rapid formation lap as well from Daniel. He wants to get on with this race. He wants to have a best possible chance of closing that gap to just as 42 points after only 4 races. Can't really afford for it to grow anymore. 9 rounds to go, including tonight. Hungary, Japan, America, Austria, Italy, Spain, Russia, UAE, and then finishing at Interlagos in December for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Hopefully by then we'll still have a fantastic championship battle on our hands, but for that to happen, you feel as though a few drivers are going to have to step up to the plate and really challenge. Just as 5th on the grid for the championship leader, yet to finish off the podium this season. His teammate just ahead of him, directly ahead of him on the grid in 3rd, so it is looking good for the Racing Point team in the Constructors' Championship. You can just see Connor getting into place then on the grid as we wait for the lights to come on here in Hungary. There they go. We've got 3, we've got 4, we've got 5 lights. And Hungary Division 1 is underway. Seems like a pretty good start, I must say, from Daniel at the moment. Bullet Boy actually managing to get nearly alongside him. And there is Mr. Pop trying to make it 3 wide into turn 1. Daniel just about holding on for the lead for now. He's been forced wide though, so Mr. Pop. And now still all going 3 wide down towards turn 2. This is going to end in tears unless someone backs out. They haven't done. They've somehow managed to get through cleanly. Mr. Pop still leading his race. Bullet Boy in second for now, but Daniel's got the inside line for turn 4. He has to yield, so a disaster of a start for the pole sitter, losing 2 places there. Further back, Medvedev had an absolutely fantastic start. He's managed to gain a few places as well. He is up into 4th, just as dropping a few places. He's gone down 3 places. Yakul up 4 places, all over the back of Ivan Bakker. So the championship leader has had a nightmare start, as has the pole sitter. They've lost 5 and 2 places respectively, 3 and 2 places respectively. Sorry, Balakakat, the biggest loser, losing 5 places. Yakul up 4 places from 10th position. Interestingly to see Mike's gone up 2 places as well on those medium tyres that he did qualify on. I think he could be an outside shot for a podium, maybe even a victory later on in this race, depending on how it goes. At the end of the first lap though, Mr. Pop in the lead of this race. Bullet Boy is in 2nd position. Daniel in 3rd at the moment. We're seeing some action and slipstreaming in the background as all the cars now trying to find their place. DRS will be enabled next time around, but they won't be able to use it until lap 4, as the section point is before the end of the lap. And CPI Connor into the pits. His hard strategy not going to plan. Youthful wing on, he's on the medium, so he'll be hoping to put those hard tyres back on again at the end of the race. 16th, he qualified after a mistake on his first qualifying lap. He's been damaged on his first racing lap as well. Definitely not the start to the race he would have wanted. Here's the championship leader then. Here's the view he's got. He has got a queue of cars ahead of him. I think if anyone's going to go for a different strategy, it might be this man. We know from the pace we've shown far this season on a lot of the other tracks, he is quicker than some of those ahead of him. Just look how much he seems to be struggling with the car at the moment. Cold temperatures, a very cold circuit because of cloud cover at the moment, so tyres should last slightly better, but that might mean they just struggle to get them up to temperature initially anyway. And just as all over the back of Law at the moment, but the entire field from Mr. Pop to Brent, only discounting Connor, who's made that pit stop, are pretty much in a DRS train. And you can just see there, just as again getting a bit sideways, Duell not close enough to have a go. They'll be able to use DRS next time around. Next time around, Mr. Pop might have to do a bit more defending. He's in the lead, really needs to break that gap to a second. Everyone, apart from the other exception, more than half a second away. And if you're at that gap, really it's very tough to overtake the car in front unless they do run out of ERS. It's almost impossible to overtake the car in front once they've got DRS. And Mr. Pop could be a bit of a sitting duck here. Bullet Boy with the best chance. Everyone from Daniel down just really needs to wait it out. Julian has stayed in 11th place, and he's on these soft tyres, mediums even. He did a lot of laps in qualifying on these medium tyres, but already managed to get himself a penalty. Might be a long afternoon for the Alfa Romeo driver if he keeps picking up penalties at that rate. He's currently 9th in the championship after his podium at the Mexican Grand Prix, and you can see Mike already looking as though he's trying to close on to the back of the Duell. You can see just as almost pushing Law around his final couple of corners. Can he get a good enough exit through this final right-hander through turn 14 to give himself a shot down the main straight? He's got the ERS activated, he's got the DRS activated, but the hat ahead has got it as well. Barakagap is into the pit. Is just as going to go for a late move down the inside here into turn 1. Law has seen him coming, thankfully, and I think Law's just going to have the grip on the exit. DRS once again though for Just As. He's just going to have to wait another day, and Yakul has dropped back ever so slightly, so that might give Law a chance next time around to get ahead of the Ferrari. But that means this train is starting to become a bit separated from the others. Connor with the fastest lap of the race already on those medium tyres as Law gets a warning. It shows them the tyres to be on already. These softs not ideal whatsoever. Law just getting a bit of wheel spin out of turn 5 there, maybe giving Just As a chance for an overtake, but through this middle sector you just have to go single file. You can't overtake the car in front unless they make a big mistake, and this is really costing these guys your fuel. Nearly 2 seconds off the back of Ivan Bakker at the moment. But it's not like Moore is hounding the Ferrari driver at the moment. He's too busy being hounded by the championship leader. Might just compromise a few of these guys on the medium tyres as well, because they're definitely being held up. So will we see any moves from them guys? Will we see any early pit stops from some of these that are stuck in the train? Further up though, pole sitter Daniel. He didn't seem to get too bad of a getaway, just a bit of wheel spin at the second stage. Cracking getaway from Mr. Pop XL to get himself up into first place. These guys are in a similar situation as well. They're all just not close enough to really go for an overtake in this DRS train. Menno Di Beva dropping back ever so slightly, trying to stay within that all-important 1 second in the orange McLaren with the orange helmet. Feels kind of fitting given it's Halloween in 2 weeks, but I'm sure 2020 has been scary enough without Halloween, with all the goings on in the world at the moment. Menno just trying to hang on to the back of Daniel at the moment, just as has dived down the inside at the chicane. I said it is possible there to make an overtake. I wasn't expecting many drivers to go for it. I wonder if Law made a mistake again through turn 5, just as, no matter what though, he's up into 7th. Now he can try and get past Yukio, who doesn't have DRS, and then he can try and reel in those lead 5 cars at the moment who are pulling away at a rate about half a second a lap, and do well all over the Haas driver at the moment, who showed some pretty good pace in qualifying as Mike on the medium tyres. He's gone for one on the penultimate corner. That'll be an absolutely fantastic move if he can pull it off. He doesn't need to pull it off. De Will and Yukio coming into the pits. These soft tyres already look like they are struggling. Yukio and De Will. We'll see where they come out relative to Barakakap, who was a long way down the field. We'll see how much he's caught up to these guys. Mediums for both Yukio and De Will. Definite two-stop strategy for those drivers then, where these on the mediums, they'll be able to go onto the hards, they'll be able to do a one-stop, so they just need to look at the gap to the leader. 6.5 seconds behind at the moment after 6 laps is not too terrible for those on the mediums. Yukio losing around about 20 seconds there to the race leaders and everyone else, and De Will only just coming out ahead of Barakakap. And when you consider how many places there were in between them earlier on, definitely worked out well for Barakakap. And Connor not too far off the back either, despite having to pit on lap 1. He'll be going to the, I imagine he might try and go to another set of mediums, but I imagine he'll go to the hard tyres. We'll just have to wait and see what the William driver can do, as Mike now got himself ahead of Law coming into turn 12. He's loving those mediums at the moment. He knows he's got to get himself in some free air. I said, judging by his qualifying, watch out for him. He's proving that to be the case. 5 places gained so far in this race. He is up into 7th as the race leaders, well, apart from the race leader, we've got the man in 2nd place and 3rd, Bullet Boy and Daniel into the pits, pretty much synchronised as they come in. Hards for Daniel and Menno Di Beva. That is an interesting strategy indeed. Are they going to try and stretch these tyres out to the end, or are they going to hope to come in later on and put a set of softs on? For now, though, they're just going to have to concentrate on staying in touch with Bullet Boy, who you'd expect to pull away. Reacting, of course, to the pit stops of those behind him. Daniel now in 11th, Bullet Boy in 10th. And that means we've got Ivan Bakker now in 2nd position, 2 seconds off the lead, just as a further 2 seconds behind Mike. 2 seconds behind them, but already we're seeing the gap shrink between Mike and some of the others, as Law really struggling on those soft tyres. Knuckle Beezy's managed to get past into the chicane. Renault driver up into 7th on those mediums, and I think this time around Law's going to pit. We know Ivan Bakker's going to pit. Which of the racing points will come in? Will it be the race leader into the pits this lap? Indeed it will, just as he's going to, he's got to stay out another lap. His teammates coming to the pits. This is really going to cost. Just as at the moment, he could have Mike all over the back of him by the end of the lap. So the race leader into the pits, Mr. Pop going for, can't quite see from that angle, a set of hard tyres matching what Daniel did. Oh, and I thought for a second he'd been held. That's just a pit stop camera glitch. Is Bullet Boy going to be able to take the net race lead though? You can see his cruise past Mr. Pop, and Daniel's going to be very close to the racing points as well, and Daniel's tyres are going to be nice and warmed up. So Bullet Boy on the mediums now, next lead of this race. He needs to build a gap. It's 6.3 seconds to the next car in front of him. He needs to go for it to make this two-stop strategy work. There's no way he's getting those to the end of the race. Mr. Pop losing out there. It looks like the other racing points. Championship leader Justas could be quite a big loser in all this as well. He put a lot of effort in earlier to getting ahead of Law and trying to get ahead of some of the others as well. He was catching up to Yekuol. He's going to drop behind Yekuol. Ivan Bakker dropped a long way down as well. He's now in 13th place. He's dropped behind Menno and Yekuol. I wonder where Justas is going to come out in all this. We're going to find out shortly. Race leader into the pits on the soft tyres. Championship leader coming in, gets it slowed down comfortably to the 50 miles an hour, 80 kilometres per hour limit there. Barakat picking up a penalty. Law in as well. Is this going to hold these guys up in the pits? No, it is not. Hard tyres there for just as Law comes in as well. He also puts a set of hard tyres, so they're definitely trying to make this one stop work. And just coming out ahead of Duell, who has got the medium tyres on, so might have more grip. We could see the racing point having to do a lot of defending over these next couple of corners to try and keep that Mercedes behind him. It's only for 12th and 13th for now, but Duell needs to do everything in his power to get ahead of the racing points and make that two-stop strategy work, as Mr. Pop, he picks up a time penalty for multiple warnings as well. Lap 9 then. All the soft tyre runners have pitted, and we've got a bit of a mix of strategy. This man, the net race leader now, I should say, as Mike is still leading the race. Net race leader Bullet Boy, 10.7 seconds off the actual lead of the race. He's on the mediums. He's trying to make a two-stop strategy work. Mr. Pop, Daniel, Menno de Wever, and most of the others are trying to make this one-stop work, stretching out those hard tyres. Then if it doesn't work, they could just go onto the softs at the end and be lightning fast. And already, it's looking like they're going to have to make the one-stop work, because you can see Bullet Boy came out less than a second ahead of Mr. Pop. 2 laps later, it's a 2.4 second gap, and Daniel, he might soon be thinking, I could try and get ahead of you here, Mr. Pop. Of course, Connor again with the fastest lap of the race. He's doing very well after a messy first lap. It must be said, he's 14th at the moment on those medium tyres. Just got to wonder if he'd have kept it clean on lap 1 and maybe kept it clean in qualifying, what sort of performance we'd have seen from Connor, because I think it is going to be a challenge for him to get any points. He's definitely going to have to pit again in this race. You can see still Daniel all over the back of Mr. Pop. Can't afford to go for too risky of a move. He's got Menno de Wever not too far behind as well. He seems to be struggling to keep up with these guys earlier on. Looks a bit more comfortable on the hard tyres though at the moment in the net for position. Dual 5th, Ivan Bakker 6th, just as net 7th. Then Dumil, Connor, Bavakap and VRT Law. Did pretty well in qualifying, it must be said. Just seemed to be a bit of a cork in the bottle, fortunately for him in that stint. A lot of cars getting ahead of him. He's last at the moment, but he is on those hard tyres. Watch out for him later in the race. Back to the battle though for the actual lead of the race. 3 cars within a second of each other at the moment. Mike, Julian and Rotation all battling extremely hard at the moment. Mike just holding on. 7/10 for gap ahead of Julian. Rotation not too far behind. Now this could also be interesting further back. Bullet Boy in 6th place, all over the back of Killer Brent. Needs to get this move done sooner rather than later for this strategy to work. Otherwise he's going to lose some time behind the Renault driver. And it's not the easiest circuit, we've already said, to overtake on. Both of them getting warnings there. Brent running wide and Bullet Boy just sort of following him then in the end. And you can see here he's not really putting him under too much pressure. At this moment in time, he can't really in the middle section. It's not the easiest part of the track at all to make an overtake on. So he stays behind him for now. And he dives down the inside into turn 12. Not the best exit for Bullet Boy. And all that time he's been gaining. We said he had 6 seconds of free air earlier. He's already lost all that free air. And this might allow Mr. Pop and Daniel to just close up ever so slightly. I think it's only a matter of time. Surely when the DRS is activated down this straight, he's going to be able to take a later apex, but that apex is being filled by a black and yellow Formula 1 car at the moment. Now though, it's going to be straightforward for Bullet Boy. He moves his way up into 5th place. he'd have been hoping for a slightly easier move than that, and because there's only one DRS detection point, he gets an extra speed boost down this next straight as well. So he is up into 5th position. Did lose about half a second though to those on the hards behind him. Could be costly later on in this race. Julian still keeping it about 6/10 ahead of Mike at the moment. He himself half a second ahead of rotation. These three seem to be those with the pace who started on the mediums. So watch out for them when they're coming to the pits. At the moment, I think they've come out in between Connor and Baraka, but they'll be definitely going to the end of the race, and their hards will be in a much better condition than those who started on the softs and tried to go onto the hards. So don't write them off for maybe not a victory, as I said earlier, for Mike. Definitely some decent points. These three drivers could definitely find themselves in a good situation, and you can just see how much Bullet Boy was being held up by Killer Brent, because now he's 2 seconds ahead, and Brent's got Mr. Pop and Daniel and Menno all over the back of him. It is imperative for Mr. Pop that he gets past on this next DRS straight, all into turn 2 at the very latest. And Daniel's going to have to try and follow through as well, otherwise he could find himself stuck a long way back. Brent goes defensive, Mr. Pop very low on his ERS at the moment, and just not able to go for the move. Has he got a better exit through turn 1? Loses a bit of grip in the dirty air. Brent staying to the inside line. He's left a slight gap though there. Mr. Pop not able to get into that gap. A bit of contact between the two of them, and I think Daniel almost getting involved in that as well. But Daniel's looking for a move down the inside into turn 3. Has to back off. A bit like he did on lap 1 with Bullet Boy. But Brent's managing to stay ahead of these guys. This is really going to cause them some big problems now. It's allowed Menno to be right on the back. You see Yakul and Ivan just closing up as well. And now, as I mentioned earlier, it's single file all the way to turn 11. That Renault will be feeling horrible at the moment on those mediums. They'll still be hoping to go at least a lap or 2 longer though, I think, to go onto the hard tyres. Well, now Mr. Pop 4.5 seconds behind Bullet Boy, who will be very happy after getting stuck behind Brent that the rest of those who pitted early on have as well. And still he's ahead. He's run slightly wide there, coming through the penultimate corner, coming through turn 13. No one seems to be able to challenge him at the moment. Now though, Mr. Pop's got a bit more DRS than he had last time. He's got the DRS, he's got the inside line. Killer Brent's going to try and squeeze him towards the wall there, just leaving him a car's width. Fantastic racing between the two of them. Mr. Pop's down the inside. Daniel thinking, I might be able to get 2 in 1 here. I might be able to go all the way around the outside. He's ran off the curb ever so slightly. Gets ahead of the Renault, not ahead of the racing point though. Menno de Beva also following through as well on those hards. It's safe to say that defending, valiant though it was for Killer Brent, has cost him a lot of time, as we've had a spinner. That is VRT Law spinning through sector 1. A broken front wing for him around this track. That is going to be costly, losing that end plate. Whether he comes into the pits now or tries to live with it for a bit longer, it remains to be seen. Very difficult though it's going to be for him to get any points now. Back at the front of the race though. He's got the gap up to more than a second, has Mike at the moment, on those medium tyres. That could put Julian under a bit more pressure from URC rotation, who was another driver, a bit like Mike, who didn't really see his potential in that qualifying session, seeing as Mike didn't set any laps on the soft tyres, and rotation just didn't set any clean laps. He's got the DRS open, not able to get close enough though at the moment to get the overtake done. Yakul now all over the back of Killer Brent for what is currently 9th and 10th place. Yakul's strategy really needed him to be in some free air, and he hasn't got that at the moment in time on those medium tyres. He is now ahead though, and further up the field, looks like Bullet Boy's trying to get ahead of Knuckle Beezy, who to be fair is trying to fight back. Ivan Backer, and just as Killer Brent is just plummeting down the field at the moment, Duville's got ahead of him just as Ivan have got ahead of him. CPI Connor was caught up to the back of these guys. Great move from the Williams. He's now up into 13. Again, it's just a shame that he had that crash in qualifying, because he's shown some fantastic pace at this moment in time to really hold up with these guys. Still has the fastest lap of the race, and whoever does get that fastest lap in the top 10 will get themselves a point. And currently the fastest lap in the top 10 is CPI Bullet Boy on a 117.5. Connor looking very racy at this moment in time on 12 lap old medium, so he's going to find it very tough going now to work his way up the order, it must be said. And you can just see how much pace Connor's got, with the fact that caught up and overtaken Brent as we're seeing our first pitters from the medium strategy then. Julian and Nufflebeezy, end of lap 15. This is about the earliest we expect to see guys come in. So that leaves Mike now 2 seconds ahead. He's just pulled away a bit more from Julian, and now he's pulling away from rotation. He's got Bullet Boy further 5 seconds behind rotation. He himself 5 seconds ahead of Mr. Pop. When will Bullet Boy come into the pits? When will he ditch those medium tyres? If it's in the next 5 or 6 laps, he's going to another set of mediums. If it's any longer, he might be able to make it work on a set of softs, and that could definitely stir things up in this order. As Barakagap has been back into the pits. He's now put on a set of hard tyres to take the AlphaTauri driver to the end of the race. He's down to 16th. We've still got all 16 runners here on lap 16 for the INL Division 1 Hungarian Grand Prix, currently being led by Mike and Rotation, who are yet to pit. The battle for 4th place then, Mr. Pop still staying ahead of Daniel at the moment. These guys will be going on to the end of the race. A bit like in the first stint, Menno just seems to be dropping back ever so slightly as Menno's teammate and the current race leader into the pits. Rotation follows as well. Where will these guys come out? Julian's come out in 13th place, just behind Killer Brent. So I'm sure Mike will be aiming to come out ahead of them, and maybe, just maybe ahead of Connor as well. Great pit stop from the McLaren boys to get him onto the hard tyres. Rotation, he'll be on the hards as well, so that's Bullet Boy in the lead of this race, of course. Where is Mike going to come out? He's going to be behind. He's going to be behind Rotation. He's going to be behind Connor, sorry. He is ahead of Julian though. So in 10th place for Mike on much fresher hard tyres than those ahead of him. 13 seconds off the lead of the race, which is Bullet Boy, who we know has to pit again. 7.7 seconds off of Mr. Pop, who we don't think has to pit again. Could be a very good result for these on the medium hard alternate strategy. We have seen that happen in esports this week, in Bahrain especially. The alternate strategy, very powerful on this game, and it is proving to be the case at the moment. Bullet Boy though, in the lead of this race on that 2-stop strategy. After starting on the softs, he now has a 6-second lead over Mr. Pop XL. He's just about to start his 18th lap out of 35 here at the Hungaroring. And Mr. Pop not thinking about that gap at the moment. He's just thinking about keeping it clean, keeping Daniel behind him. It looks like he's finally refound his form that he showed in some of the first parts of this season. Ever since he got restarted at Canada, safe to say he had the disconnection there. He's had other problems as well, which have really stopped him showing his true form. He got a pole and 4th place last time out. If it all goes to plan here, he could well get a victory, which will be a 4th victory out of 5 races for the Racing Point team. His teammates currently battling hard with Yekul at the moment. Those mediums on Yekul's car probably a bit second best. Just as into the back of the Ferrari, very lucky to avoid breaking his front wing, just needs to, and so he needs to keep it patient. But we saw earlier what happened when the drivers got stuck behind Killer Brent. You do not want to be stuck behind someone on the older medium tyres through the middle sector of this lap, because you are going to lose chunks of time. It looks like this is going to be just as worst result of the season. No matter what happens, penalties, late safety cars could well mix things up. He's just stuck behind Yekul, and he's got Ivan Bakker in 7th place again. Ivan showed some decent form. He hasn't really had the results I don't think that his form has deserved, really. Best result so far this season of a 7th place, 8th last time around. He's currently in 7th now and could well get his way into the top 5 once Bullet Boy and Yekul have come into the pits. Duel behind him as well. Connor and Mike, Julian and Rotation all on the back of this train behind the Ferrari at the moment. Has Mike got enough grip on these hard tyres to work his way past Connor, whose mediums are 16 laps old? They are going to be short. Is it going to be a late move from the McLaren down the inside? There's a bit of wheel banging between the two of them, but they're the type of moves he has to pull off, and he has pulled it off. Fantastic manoeuvre from the McLaren driver. Connor's going to try and fight back into turn 2. Bit more paint traded between the two of them. Surely one of these guys is going to have to give up. They're both running way wild off the circuit there. Connor's just managed to stay ahead. Very, very robust attacking from Mike. Very robust defending from Connor. To carry on like that, they're just going to get damaged and lose some time. It was worth a shot from Mike. I'd have done the same thing. In the end, though, he has to wait another day. Probably wait for Connor to come into the pits, which I can't imagine is too far away, but then it will just be the same situation. But behind Duville on slightly fresher medium tyres is, well, 12 laps compared to Connor's 16 laps at this moment in time. Law's been back into the pits. He's put the medium tyres on. He'll be hoping to go to the end on those. His teammate, and this is the big question for the race now, his teammate 6.3 seconds ahead. When will he come into the pits? If he pits now, he'd drop to 12th position in some free air, but no chance whatsoever of winning the race, as Will into the pits then. The Will into the pits in the Mercedes. He's going early. He'll drop down to last position in the Mercedes. Medium tyres on that car for his second and final stop. He will actually might get out ahead of Killer Brent. So he's in 13th. He's got a bit of free air. Let's see what he can do on those medium tyres, and will that cause some others to pit? Connor has dropped behind Mike again. Him and Julian are now still going side by side. This is pretty much carbon copy what happened on the previous lap. Very close there to causing a big spin, and I think in the end Connor's had to back off for whatever reason and let Julian ahead. So Julian now 9th, Connor is 10th. He could really do with coming into the pits and probably putting on a set of mediums as well. He will now drop a long way down the order if he doesn't do that soon. Doesn't want to ruin all his hard work in the early stages. Already, you can see Mike just up ahead, all over the back of Ivan and Yakul, just as he's freed himself from that Ferrari. So he's given himself a chance of maybe catching up to those ahead. Still 15 laps to go, however. He's 4.3 seconds behind. It's soon going to be... It is still 15 laps as the battle for second place goes through. And Yakul, not the cleanest pit entry we've ever seen. He is in 8th position. He's coming in as well, putting on a set of the mediums to get him towards the end. Where will he come out relative to Duell? Has the undercut worked for the Mercedes driver and just giving himself a chance of getting higher up the field at the moment? It's going to be pretty close, I think, on the pit exit. The Mercedes is going to have the momentum, and I think you're just going to see a flash of red on the right-hand side, who's not able to do anything about it. There we go, Duell up into 12th place, working the undercut brilliantly. Now let's see what these cars can do on their fresh medium tyres. Can they catch up to some of those who are going to the end on the hard tyres, who are trying desperately to keep those on the fresher hard tyres, like Mike, Julian and Rotation. Here we are on board with Mike in 7th place, just trying to keep these behind him. He's used the alternate strategy. Don't think it was intentional for Rotation. He wanted to start on the softs, I think, but just didn't get a clean lap in. It seems to have worked out all right for him. Mike and Julian, it was definitely intentional. Mike not even attempting the softs in qualifying. And Julian slowing down on his final run, although it does look at the moment Julian has dropped a bit behind. Are we going to see Connor come into the pits on this lap then? Yep, we do. Connor into the pits from 10th position. He will drop down to 13th, but we'll just have a lap or two fresher mediums than some of the others, so that still will give him a great chance. Of course, Rotation tapping the back of Julian. Just sort of came into that move as it was half happening. Not sure if it was a late move from the Alfa Romeo or not. Didn't look too late from my perspective, but we only really got a very brief shot of it. Not ideal whatsoever. And this battling is going to help those behind catch up that are on the fresher mediums, and it's just allowing Mike to pull away. But Mike stuck behind Ivan now, who himself is behind just as. So 5th, 6th and 7th on the track at this moment in time. How much longer though can Bullet Boy keep it going out on track on those medium tyres? He's still keeping that gap now pretty constant to the hard shod racing point of Mr. Pot behind him, 6.5 seconds. But you imagine it won't be too long before Bullet Boy comes into the pits. If he wants to make best use of those mediums, he would come out now in 9th position, so still in the points and not too far behind Rotation, Julian, Mike and some of them others, so could still fight his way up through the field. He'll be about 14 seconds off the lead when he comes into the pits. It's a big ask with 13 laps to go, but the hards on some of these other cars will be absolutely ruined at the end of the race. Don't be too surprised if you see the odd puncture. Possibly. I hope we don't. I hope all the drivers can get to the end of the race cleanly, of course, but stranger things have happened. Rotation this time. Round the outside of Julian at turn 1. Not able to pull it off. He's going to get DRS again. He's got the inside line for turn 2. The Alfa Romeo's going to try everything to hold it all the way round the outside. Still Julian and Rotation at it, and still somehow Rotation not able to get ahead of Julian. Great defending from the Alfa Romeo driver. hanging on to that 8th position at the moment for dear life, and it seems to be working. It is allowing that battle that's just gone through your screen to get away ever so slightly further. He's entitled to defend this position. Neither of them are coming into the pits, and they know it could well be a higher position at the end of this race, given the penalty situation, given that some of these on the hards will struggle, given that Bullet Boy absolutely has to come into the pits, and he has done. Here we go then, Bullet Boy, race leader, into the pits, keeps it clean on pit entry. He's going to come out in 9th position, I believe. He'll be on a set of the medium tyres again to get him to the end. Won't be able to stretch a set of softs out long enough. Another set of mediums on the Haas car, clean pit stop. You can see he's going to have Julian and Rotation just going past him now. Rotation straight past Julian. Didn't have too much ERS, and there we go. Julian is in 8th place, and we've got the McLaren of Mike trying to go all the way around the outside of Ivan Backer here. On lap 24, there's some wheel banging between them. Mike's got the position, he's got the move done. Still though, Ivan Backer is alongside, and in the end decides he's not going to be able to fight that move into turn 4. Nearly loses it on the curve. Another place gain from Mike, 6.4 seconds off the lead of this race. Extremely fresh hard tyres compared to those around him. 8 laps fresher than Justas, 9 better than Pop, 10 better than Daniel and Menno de Beva. We've seen crazier things happening. We've seen the alternate strategy work out brilliantly. Could Mike, I said at the start he could get a podium or possibly even a win. He's only 5 seconds off the podium at the moment, but to do that he's going to have to pass one of the best drivers in the field, championship leader at this moment, Justas, who himself also has designs on that podium place, of course. And there is Bullet Boy in 9th place, lead car out of those who have done the 2-stop strategy. What can he do on that set of medium tyres? Can he work himself up the order? Could he possibly even find his way onto the podium? It's going to be a big ask to gain 11 seconds in 11 laps, so for the Haas driver. Ivan closing up to the back of Mike, not able to make an overtake though into turn 1 or into turn 2 either, so he's just going to wait a bit longer, try and stay patient, try and just hook onto the back of Mike, of course, to drag him up to Justas. So if there is a chance of an overtake later on in the race, he is right in the action. Further down the back of the field, we've got Killer Brent and Baraka still fighting hard, 14th and 15th place at the moment. It's great to see, especially around such a tricky track, and especially given the qualifying hard, that we've still got most of our drivers in the field. We've got a full field. We very nearly didn't have there. Yakul's got big front wing damage. Both end plates missing. That is a certain pit stop for the Ferrari driver. He was where Duell and Connor were, I think, on track. So I'm not sure if that's an individual spin or there's been a bit of contact. What I do know is he's going to drop down to last place at the moment. He might just put the soft tyres on and try and get himself a fastest lap here, because he's going to have nothing else to fight for. Such a shame for him after a decent qualifying session from the Ferrari drivers, starting in 10th place in the top 10. He's dropped down though as Daniel down the inside. We've had a change for the race lead there. Daniel's waited long enough behind Mr. Pop, retakes the race lead. Bullet Boy and Julian as well, so one Alfa Romeo gains a place, one loses one, and that is big news at the head of the field though. With 10 laps to go, Daniel takes the lead of this race. He was on pole position, he lost it on lap 1. Can he hang on to take his first win of the season? And as it stands at the moment, close that gap up to Justas for the lead of the championship. If it stays as it is now, we cut it from 42 to 29 points going into round 12 of the season, round 6 since we had the reboot, the Japanese Grand Prix. Great move from him, and already he seems to be pushing extremely hard to break that 1 second window. And that might just put Mr. Pop under a bit of pressure from Menno de Beva as well, as Julian has now picked up a 3-second time penalty. He's got a lot of a gap though to Nuffle BC behind him. Maybe no, not too much of a gap to Connor and Will, depending how these guys do on the medium tyres. This is the battle for the final points position at this moment in time. Nuffle holding on to that 9-lap-old hards. He's got Connor and Will on fresher mediums behind him, so I think it's going to be, unfortunately for the Renault team, a tough job for either of their drivers to get into the points today. You can see how much he's struggling already on traction, just pushing hard to stay ahead of Connor. Bullet Boy gets past Rotation, a bit of contact between the two of them. Bullet Boy's got that 7th place, and I think Might not be too long before Connor's got that point. He's not close enough there to have a go. He's going to go for a late move down the inside. Has Nuffle Beezy seen him coming? He has. Who's going to get the better exit on traction? Nuffle still trying to get ahead of him. This could get very messy indeed between them, and the big winner is going to be DeWill if he can just go around the outside of both of them. No, he cannot. That was... I've seen cleaner overtakes and I've seen cleaner moves as well. Oh, we've had a yellow flag somewhere, and I think that is... Is that Julian? It is. The Alfa Romeo of Julian. He's retired from the session. Our first retirement. Hopefully that doesn't cause a safety car, as Mr. Pop has got himself a warning, and that means this is now a battle for 9th, 10th and 11th position. Baraka Cap and Killer Brent seem to be having a fun battle as well. But now 12 and 13. I don't think Connor will be too happy about that. He seemed to try and dummy Nuffle Beezy and went for a very late move down the inside. I don't think the Renault driver took too kindly to it. What it does mean, though, is Will managed to get ahead of them, and Connor is stuck in 11th place for now, and he's going to find it even harder to overtake this time around. I think Will's going to have a better chance. He's got 50+% the ERS, whereas Connor's in the 20s, and Nuffle Beezy in a low number as well. You can see the red lights flashing ever so slightly. Nuffle Beezy's completely emptied his tank, and there we go. DeWill up into 9th place. Can Connor get the cutback to maybe get past the Renault driver as well? He's going to give it all he's worth. Oh, that was inevitable. That was coming, wasn't it, between them two? Connor and Nuffle Beezy have made contact, and we've got a full safety car. This is going to change everything. This has ruined the two-stop strategy for Bullet Boy. Everyone now dives to the pits, puts for soft tyres on, and gets themselves some fun for the end of this race. Safety car is out for the damage caused by that incident. Nuffle Beezy and CPI Connor, I have a funny feeling that one could well get referred to the stewards by one of them. Connor's completely missing his front wing, so he'll have to come into the pits. Nuffle Beezy will be as well. Lucky that we didn't end up with some more retirements there, but both of them with quite heavy damage. It's not going to cost them too much. Daniel has stayed out. Race leader Daniel has stayed out. That is a mistake, I think. He has stayed out. Just as also staying out. I don't think it'd been worth risking the double stack in this situation. Mr. Pop on the soft tyres. Can he get ahead of Meadow de Bever? No, he can't. Mike coming in as well. He's going to put a set of the soft tyres on. It's also, you could say, slightly ruined those who went for the alternate strategy as well. But this has mixed the order up quite a lot. 1 and 2 in the championship are now 1 and 2 out on track. Daniel ahead of Just As, but they're on the hard tyres. Mr. Pop, Menno, Ivan, Mike, Bullet Boy, Rotation, Connor, DeWill, Nuffle, Baraka Cap, Killer Brent, Yekul and Law all on the soft tyres. 21 lap old and 19 lap old hard tyres aren't going to heat up as nice as you would expect them to. It's going to be very tricky indeed for these guys, I feel. Very tricky indeed for them to try and hang on to the win of this race. We'll check the penalty situation now for the top few drivers. Daniel, one warning away from a penalty, Just As he's had a couple of warnings as well, but no penalties. Mr. Pop has found himself with a couple of penalties at the moment, so that might cost him. Menno de Bever, he's got an invalidated lap time there, so I'm not sure whether that will have given him a 3-second penalty. Can't remember one flashing up. Ivan Bakker has a penalty as well. Mike with just the one penalty. Bullet Boy also picking up a penalty. Rotation, he has a 3-second penalty as well. DeWill, again, 3-second penalty. And Connor kept it clean at the moment, at least penalty-wise. He might get one. Well, him and Nuffle Beezy are definitely, I think, going to have to take a trip to the stewards. It was very messy the lap before, and it got even messier. And Just As and Daniel could well find themselves sitting ducks once his safety car comes in. Normally, the safety car likes to wait for everyone to catch up, and of course, they won't get DRS for another 2 laps. That could save them, but they're going to have absolutely no grip through the middle sector on 22, 20 lap hard tyres respectively for the guys first and second in this race. And that means Mr. Pop might just take a victory here on track. Penalties could change it. Could well see Mr. Pop take a victory for him. That'd be good news for Racing Point in the Constructors. Might not be the best news for his teammate in the Drivers, and this could see some big changes. Could see Menno catch up to some of these guys. He's currently 4th in the Drivers' Championship. 60 points off the lead. He could well catch 25 points off Just-As here. Would not surprise me if he takes a victory and Just-As finishes completely out with the points. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. We'll have to see if the safety car comes in on this lap as well, because they're halfway around the track. Here, Huel and Law coming in, bombing it round turns 2 and 3. So will the safety car come in at the end of this lap, or will it wait one more lap? And I'm not sure. Not sure that's going to be good news either, because as these hards get longer and older, the temperature drops, of course, on the tyres. There's less tread block to actually generate the heat, and it's just so hard under the safety car. That Mercedes AMG is bombing it around the track for a road car, but not fast enough for these F1 cars. And it does look like we are going to have another lap under the safety car, and that means we're going to get a 4-lap shootout to determine this Hungarian Grand Prix. It looked as though Daniel had secured the victory, and no, safety car is coming in this lap. That is a very late call from the safety car. It's coming in this lap just moving ahead of Daniel ever so slightly. Hopefully that doesn't cause a bug at all. When is Daniel going to go for it? We've got to wait, of course, for the safety car to come in. Now he puts the hammer down, and Daniel has gone. He gets a penalty for ignoring yellow flags, but that will get recovered. Mr. Pop and Just-As already going at it for 2 racing points. Down the straight, down the inside goes Mr. Pop. He's into second position. Mike and Ivan Bakker battling hard as well. Connor's got himself a penalty. Bullet Boy is involved in this as well, with rotation not too far behind. We've got another yellow flag, and that is Law, who has had a spin. Nuffle Beasy trying to get ahead of Baraka Cap now. Bullet Boy just staying ahead of Ivan Bakker, and rotation for now. But it's Daniel in the lead. He's got a 5-second penalty. That he will get removed of, I am sure of it. Mr. Pop in second place. He's surely just going to cruise past Just-As. Couldn't even hold it into turn 1. The 2 McLarens are behind. We've had contact there. Bullet Boy into the back of Mike. He's got a very good exit through the chicane despite that contact. Not able to stay in touch. We've got another yellow flag. That is Killer Brent going very slowly. He's in 14th places. Still looks like the Renault drivers are going to struggle to get any points. And can Mr. Pop go down the inside into turn 12 here to get the move done? No, Daniel just about stays ahead for now, but he's going to be a sitting duck down the straight, surely. You can just see Mr. Pop all the way around the outside, across the pit entry. He retakes the lead of this race then with just 4 laps remaining. Mr. Pop in the lead. He might be able to just cruise away to take the victory now. Oh, Ivan Bakker's off. Ivan Bakker has had a spin coming out of the final corner. Can he stay ahead of Killer Brent? No, he can't. And again, it doesn't look like he's going to get the result his pace has deserved. He's down in 14th. Bullet Boy getting ahead of both of the McLarens here. This will be a fantastic move. They're 3 wide into turn 2. Is there going to be any contact between them? All sorts of squeezing. There's cars on the grass. Bullet Boy is around. He taps the barriers as well. Another driver who will be thinking what has gone wrong for him in this race. Maybe could have made the 2-stop work. The safety car scuppered that strategy for the Haas driver. Mr. Pop though now with a 1.2 second lead, just using those soft tyres. Why didn't Daniel and Just-As come into the pits? They're just leaving themselves open now. Bullet Boy out of the race. Such a shame for him. I feel it was almost inevitable. 3 wide into that corner was not going to work. We've seen on this game time and time again, the car on the inside is usually the one that spins. And that was Bullet Boy. Rotation getting passed by Connor, who's now up in 6th place. Mike, I said he might get a podium. Can he hold on ahead of Just-As now? Just-As tries his best, but he's just got no grip whatsoever. Straight around the outside. And that is Mike up into 3rd position. Connor still on the inside of Menno de Weber. There's a bit of carbon fibre rubbing against tyre there. Just-As gets the position back on Mike. Surely that's not going to work on the hard tyres, and he's now left himself open for the Williams to go all the way around the outside into turn 2, which Connor gladly is going to take that opportunity. That will give him the inside line for turn 3. Connor takes 4th position, and I think Menno de Weber won't be too long before he gets ahead of Just-As as well. Got to say, Daniel doing an incredibly good job at the moment to keep into 2nd place. All these guys are battling behind him. It's just helping the Alfa Romeo driver Just-As just plummeting down the field. And you can see there, Menno de Weber down the inside. There's a bit more contact between them. That's really holding them up. Rotations behind. Watching this, look how much time they've lost to Connor, who's already more than a second ahead. Menno will have DRS next time around if he wants it. You might think he'll be quicker getting this move done now rather than waiting for the DRS, but I think he is going to wait for that. He's got rotation, Will, Nufflebeezy, Yakul, Barakakap behind. This is what I mean. Just as might end up getting no points from this race here, which would have been unthinkable when he's got himself up into 4th position. Menno has DRS. He doesn't have a lot of ERS though, so that might just save Just As, and that might put him under pressure from rotation. He's going to try and go all the way round the outside into turn 1 as Just As is around. Menno sent Just As round. You will getting involved in that as well. All sorts of contact. Menno, big accident for the McLaren driver. He's broken his front wing. He's going to get no points whatsoever, and he's cooked his tyres. It has all gone wrong for these guys. Connor is up into 3rd because Mike is up into 2nd place. 2 laps to go here. Mr. Pop with a 3-second lead. Mike in 2nd. Connor in 3rd. Daniel drops to 4th on those hard tyres. He might be able to hold on to that position, which wouldn't be too bad, as it looks like his rival for the championship isn't going to get any points from this race. It has been an absolutely crazy end after the safety car came out. Absolutely all sorts of chaos after what happened with Nuffle and Connor earlier on. Brent up into 9th position. Law might get some points. He had a shocking start to the race. He's kept it fairly clean after the safety car despite the spin. He's now up into 10th position, and Connor's now in the DRS of Mike. We're on to the final lap. Who's going to finish in 2nd place? Mike goes defensive. Connor goes to the outside line. Is he able to go all the way around the outside into turn 1? He's ahead before the braking zone. Mike tries to attack back. Surely the McLaren has gone in a bit too deep, though. He's not going to have the grip on the exit, and Connor up into 2nd. DeWill retires from the race in the pit lane, so our 3rd retirement. We're down to just 14 runners. Mr. Pop is just loving life at the moment. He's in the lead of this race. 2.7 seconds. Connor in 2nd. Mike is 3rd. Daniel still holding on to that 4th place. Didn't get pole position. Looked as though he could get his first victory, but staying out on the hard tyres really proving to be the wrong decision for him. Rotations 5th. Knuckle 6th. Yakul in 7th. All seems to be calming down ever so slightly at the moment. Here we are on board with VRT Law all over the back of Killer Brent, who really struggled on that first stint on the medium tyres, and looks as though he's going to somehow get himself 2 points out of this race. His teammate Nufflebeezy on for his best result of the season, equaling his result from last time out with a 6th place, but it's another win for Racing Point. It's not going to be Just As this time around. Mr. Pop XL comes across the line to win Division 1 here in Hungary, and Connor takes it on penalties. Mike in 2nd place. Daniel drops to 5th, but I think he'll get that 5-second penalty removed. I think Daniel might well get 25 points out of this race. We'll go with this for now. Daniel 5th, Yakul 6th, Barakakap is 7th, Just As up to 8th after all the penalties sorted themselves out. Nuffle and Brent, the final points finishers. Law missing out on his first points of the season by less than a tenth of a second. Ivan Bakker and Menno de Bever, both of them just thinking what went wrong for them in this race. Ivan will cross the line in 12th position in the Sol Red Bull tonight, and Menno de Bever will be the 13th and final finisher. But your winner in his first race, he was last on the grid. Somehow he's ended up first. It is Connor. Gets the drive for the day. Can't really argue with that. Great driving. Maybe a bit of a question what happened with him and Nufflebeezy. I don't think it was a bit of squeezing going on between the two of them. Great job from Mike to get 2nd place. Mr. Pop in 3rd, was first across the line, but penalties costing him. He's got his first podium of the season. And there we go, Connor with the win. Mike 2nd, Mr. Pop in 3rd, rotation getting 4th. Pole sitter Daniel in 5th. He got that 5-second penalty for an overtake under the safety car, and I think he was just passing Mr. Pop back, so may get that removed, and he might get his first victory of the season. Yakul, 4 pit stops, still managed to finish in 6th. Barakakap 7th, Just As championship leader, kept it clean, and that ended up helping him get some points. Kept it clean penalty-wise, at least. He is 8th. Nufflebeezy is 9th. Brent in 10th. Law just missing out in the hash. Really struggled in the first stint. He finished 11th. Ivan Bakker and Menno de Bever were the final finishers. We saw DeWill innocent party in whatever happened between Menno and Just As. Bullet Boy as well. He got stuck with the McLarens. Julian, we saw retiring earlier on as well. That is the end of that race. That was an absolutely crazy... That was just a crazy race. We saw it looked fairly tidy early on. It looked like it was going to be a straightforward strategy battle, as you see so many times at Hungary. Then there was that big contact between Nuffle Beezy and Connor. Looked to me, and I only get to see it once, so I can't really comment. I'm sure it will go to the stewards. It looked to me as though the Williams driver, there was a bit of a touch between them into turn one, and then Nuffle was determined, and perhaps too determined, to keep ahead of the Williams driver. That is why they spun. That brought the safety car out. Daniel and Just As must be ruining their decision not to come into the pits. Would have been an easy 1-2 for those guys. And Captain Bullet Boy, CPI Bullet Boy, 3 wide with the McLarens, didn't work out. Just As and Menno making contact. All sorts of things going on at the end of that race. I'm sure the stewards will sort it out, and they may well have a lot of sorting out. Get to what the final order will be. We will know, though, before the next race. It is Suzuka next time out for round 12 of the season. But from myself, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.